Een vraag. Hoe lang is in Nederland het begrip ZZP'er al algemeen goed? Volgens mij nog niet zo lang. Een jaar of 10? Of vergis ik me? Ja, zoiets, hè? Toch? Daarvoor bestond het niet. En ik vraag het omdat onze volgende spreker, Moody Stuart, die was CEO van Shell in de jaren 2001, 2004. En hij heeft kennelijk gevoel voor taal, als geoloog ook. Want hij zat naar Claudia Zuiderwijk vanochtend te luisteren en toen zei hij, what is a ZZP'er? Verder verstaat hij zeer veel Nederland, heel goed. Het begrip ZZP'er, dat moest hem uitgelegd worden. Dat vond ik wel grappig, omdat ik dacht van ja, het bestaat inderdaad niet zo lang. Het is al zo gemeen goed voor ons. Hij interesseert zich er uiteraard voor. Met hem ga ik praten zometeen over andere dingen. Hij is, wat ik zei, CEO geweest van Shell. Is nu eigenlijk al een aantal jaren ontzettend actief bezig met de ethiek van het bedrijfsleven. Nou, hij heeft dat van binnenuit heeft hij dat natuurlijk gezien in het bedrijf van Shell. Dan heb je wel een en ander meegemaakt. Dus mag ik een luid applaus voor Moody Stuart. Mark? Sit down. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, and I'm sorry not to speak Dutch.
Well, I just explained like the ZZP'er thing, right?
Okay.
Something else. Over dinner, I asked you yesterday evening, what has made you proud? And you said, Oman. I said, Oman? What do you mean, Oman?
Well, what I meant was, over my career, I've watched countries develop based on natural resources. Positive outcomes, not because of the company, but because of the government. And
that's the deciding factor.
Kind of makes me proud. I remember taking off from Muscat once and looking down at all these lights, and I thought every single one of those lights we lit. Not us, but the government, using stuff that we did. But if you're proud of some things, and proud of the positive outcomes, you need to be...
So what's positive about Oman? Then we can talk about the other examples.
The development.
Okay.
I mean, this is a transformation of a country. Malaysia the same, many other countries. Transformation, huge progress in 40 years. Not because of the company, but because of the government.
Social progress, education.
Social progress. Oman was a medieval country. It's now a modern country, bicameral parliament, religious freedom, Sunni, Shias, Abadis, Hindus, never mind.
We don't read a lot about it.
No. They talk to Iran. So the US opening to Iran was through Muscat. But there is the negative side.
Then, yeah. I mean, people think South Africa, years of apartheid, think Nigeria, think maybe Alaska, and other examples.
Well, I would leave Alaska off that,
yeah,
but Nigeria.
yeah, that's different. Yeah,
Nigeria,
right.
certainly. And what went wrong in Nigeria, because it's the same people, creative people, the Shell people were the same. And to me, the big difference is the government. But that does not excuse the company. If you say you take pride where there's a positive outcome, then you have to take your share of the blame when there's a negative outcome. So you think, what should we have done differently? And what do you do as a company operating to what I think were good standards in countries with bad governments? What can you do to influence, what can and what should you do to influence the government? I believe there is a role for business, but it has to be very delicately played, because if you go down business control, you land up with United Fruit and Banana Republics or East India Company, or whether yours or ours.
So being in Shell for so many years, you made a lot of decisions. Any regrets with hindsight?
Well, you always have regrets. I mean, there are regrets about individual cases. No, I don't think... I'm a geologist. If you do your job properly and spend money and it goes wrong and you've done it properly, then no regrets. I mean, what is it? It's just money. Where it affects people, then that's what keeps, the only thing that's ever kept me awake at night was people, individuals, humans.
And you said Shell and the other oil companies, I mean, they should have changed their attitude, their way of thinking way earlier than they actually did. And some people say they still don't, but...
No.
Yeah.
I think the question, there's a differences, I think, between even mining companies and oil companies. The mining companies engaged with civil society earlier. Shell actually engaged with civil society earlier in the 90s.
You mean all kinds of NGOs, environmental groups, etc.?
Not because of our inherent intelligence, but because we got ourselves into trouble in '95 with the execution of Ken Saro-Wiwa and the Brent Spa. So human rights and environment. And we thought we were doing things well, according to good standards, and the world plainly didn't agree with us, and it shattered our self-esteem. So we learned from that, I think. I certainly personally learned from that, to talk to the outside world, to talk to people who don't agree with you, and sometimes even people who you think deep in your heart are probably stupid, because they're not stupid. They have their ideas come from somewhere, and you better find out where it is.
Yeah. You wrote a very successful best-selling book, Lessons from the Frontline of Sustainability and Ethics. You talk about responsible leadership. What is the biggest lesson for you in the book and in your career?
I think the biggest lesson is the need for business to be open and to cooperate with civil society. A lot of progress has come from that.
There is a lot of progress in your view.
Yeah, if you look at traded goods, Forest Stewardship Council, sustainable fisheries, Kimberley process, extractive industries, transparent, all of these come from that combination of the two. And each side keeps the other side honest, and we both need keeping honest. The UN Global Compact is a big example of this. And I am a strong believer of the positive role of business operating in difficult countries. But in order to do that, it should be a responsible business, which means that you have to be open to the outside world and to be very transparent about what you're doing.
Are businesses eventually, in your view, a force for good? Because I mean, a lot of people think they're not. I mean, that's clear, right? Yeah. What is your view? We're not going to talk about Shell of 2016 because you left the company more than 10 years ago. But in general, businesses can be a force for good, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I think a business run to high standards with good employment, ethical in that it's not bribing people, transparent business, being open, all of which is good for business. This is not charity. All of those things are good for business. But I think if you have good businesses operating in countries, they are a contribution to society. They are part of society, but they have to work with others. They can't do it. It needs the cooperation of government and civil society and business.
But some people say, good heavens, look at the banks since 2008.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but we need banks. And that doesn't, but where businesses go off the rails, it's normally because they've developed a kind of internal society, their own values, which the rest of the world has sort of drifted away from the rest of the world. And how does that happen? Because within a business, and even talking to your shareholders, people say shareholders are the answer. Shareholders, analysts are very often part of the bank's analysts who are part of, I was on the board of HSBC. Our shareholders, we had a group of shareholders who said, your balance sheet is hopelessly inefficient. Gear it up, borrow more. And we said we didn't want to. We probably borrowed quite enough. But so that's because you're in a kind of cocoon, and in order to break out of that, you have to talk to people outside that immediate circle. And as I say, people who don't agree with you and your critics, because your critics see things sometimes over the horizon which you do not see.
If you ask people here in Europe, also in the United States, is your country or is the world going in the right direction? A clear majority says no, we're going in the wrong direction. Terrorism, the economy, global warming, etc. At the same time, you see a number of developments, rapidly declining child mortality, globally growing middle class, life expectancy for adults increasing very fast. Great results. How do you balance these two out? The bad news that's on the front page every single day, and more long-term developments that are actually happening but not on the front page. How do you balance that out?
Well, it's not so much a question of balancing it. I think you have to commit yourself to working on the positive side. So you try and throw your small weight on the side of the balance which is positive. What's depressing, I find, is the growth of this nihilistic approach, which is, it's almost an illness. We know in our own societies, our own families, people can become ill and depressed, and they can even consider taking their own lives. But this is kind of an extension of that. Maybe because of, I don't know, greater opportunity or the call of ideology. But it's very negative and nihilistic, and we have to work against it. But we should remember that it has to be, it's almost a kind of illness like depression. And we know depression happens in every country. People suffer from.
And we don't have a cure for this
depression.
illness of pessimism?
No, I mean, we know that there are ways that you can work with people who are depressed. I think you just have to.
That is worldwide pessimism.
Global pessimism, I think you have to keep highlighting the positive. And there is humanity in everyone, even some people who you think are almost irredeemably wicked. There is a spark of humanity, and I think the cure is to work on it and communicate with it. But it's a dangerous sport.
On a scale from 1 to 10, are you an optimist or a pessimist?
All geologists are optimists.
Because?
We look at the world. People say, you know, what will happen to the world, the future of the world. The world will be just fine. We humans may be gone, but that's life, you know.
I'm not sure whether that's a very attractive scenario.
No. You see,
don't have the last big improvement day. You know.
Species come and go. So it's up to us to do something about it.
Yeah. 10 million years is nothing for a geologist, right?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mark.
Not at all.
Thank you very much.
Mark, thank you. I fell off my Nederlandse fiets in England.
And you had a ZZP'er repair the bike, or?
No, picked me up.
Okay.